Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The Defense Department is hoping that local governments will support the establishment of additional EDCA sites in the country. To tell us more, we have Brian Castillo joining us live from Quezon City. Hi, Brian. Good afternoon. What did the Department of National Defense have to say about these additional EDCA sites?
Sean, despite the controversies surrounding the expansion of the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, the Department of Defense is committed to bringing it to full swing. The Department of National Defense has confirmed that the consensus was reached in identifying 4 additional areas where the EDCA will be implemented. However, the DND refused to name these locations for now, as necessary consultations, coordination, staff work, and other requirements are being completed or complied with. The Defense Department is also hopeful that local government units will support the full implementation of this agreement between the Philippines and the United States for American troops to gain access to more military bases in the country. In a statement, Defense Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said that EDCA is not just about security but could also spur economic growth. Galvez underscored that LGUs should look into the potential foreign investments and economic development that EDCA sites will bring to local communities, as well as the enhancement of the protection of areas vulnerable to climate change. The Defense Secretary also claimed that EDCA will ensure a quicker disaster response and mitigation, as both Filipino and American forces will work together in addressing the crisis. In his visit to the Philippines last week, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin clarified that the U.S. does not intend to push for permanent basing in the country, but rather it is trying to open up an opportunity to enhance effectiveness and interoperability. Meanwhile, a regional think tank warned that the re-establishment of U.S. presence in the Philippines would only make the country a modern-day Pearl Harbor for their enemies. The Asia-Pacific Research Network said that the addition of 4 EDCA sites will only aggravate rights abuses, militarism, and the likelihood of being pushed towards war and conflict. Sean, the Armed Forces of the Philippines ensures that bases under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement will remain as property of the Philippines and will not be in any way regarded as U.S. military bases. Sean?
Thank you so much for that update. Brian Castillo reporting to us live. And a U.S. Air Force general has raised the issue of a, quote, awareness gap in the military as he admits failing to detect the presence of previous spy balloons. Over the weekend, the Pentagon said that spy balloons briefly flew over the U.S. at least 3 times during the Trump administration and once under President Joe Biden. The unnamed Air Force general noted that U.S. intelligence determined the previous flights after the fact based on additional information. He did not offer further details on whether it is for cyber espionage. Meanwhile, according to China, the balloon recently spotted over Latin America was originally deployed for civilian purposes.
With regards to this balloon over Latin America that you've mentioned, it is understood and verified that the unmanned airship in question that came from China is of a civilian nature and used for flight tests. It was affected by the weather and has limited control of its own. The airship deviated from its intended route and entered the skies over Latin America and the Caribbean by mistake.
The Philippines could have been a subject of surveillance as well. That is according to international affairs analyst Renato De Castro, calling the Chinese balloon recently shot down in the U.S. as a counter-reconnaissance tactic. Recall that there have been reports from around the Philippines about so-called unidentified flying and floating objects. Because of these, De Castro emphasizes the need to strengthen the country's intelligence capabilities, air defense systems, and maritime domain awareness.
Oh, we don't have to look at the sky. Just recently, you have the this ship, a Chinese ship that supposed to ask for SOS from the Philippine Coast Guard, and the Philippine Coast Guard was so emphatic with the fact that they did not find any fishing gear, and the log, of course, is missing. So we don't have to look at the sky. We simply have to look at our coast. Or we could look at deep inside our exclusive economic zone, where we have 4 Chinese artificial islands that, of course, are full of reconnaissance capabilities.
Moving on now to other news. One transport group is calling for technical and financial help for the PUV modernization program. In an interview with the chiefs, FEDJADA President Boy Rebano said that jeepney operators and drivers need to be trained on how to run a cooperative. They also need additional subsidies in order to pay off their 34 million peso bank loans for the purchase of modernized jeepneys. Rebano also clarified that they're not against the modernization program and that they only need more support from the government.
Talagang hirap na hirap po kami, kaya nga tanging gobyerno po yung gagawa ng pamamaraan dito para mapumayakap at matuloy po itong ating programang modernization program na pangarap po ng ating gobyerno.
More stories coming your way after this quick break. Stay with us. Still watching One News Now, I'm Sean Yao. Youth groups are rejecting the proposal to make ROTC mandatory for college students. However, one senator is determined to push for its inclusion in the college curriculum, saying that it will benefit the mental health of students. Man Los Baños with the details.
The discussion on the proposals to make the Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC mandatory for college students in the country continued on Monday. Speaking during the Senate hearing, the Akbayan youth insisted that there is no need to make ROTC mandatory. The group said that there are other ways of showing nationalism and love for country other than military training.
Alam po natin, nakikita po natin ang rason ng ibang mga bansa na nasa gyera kung bakit may military training sa kanilang mga sibilyan. Ngayon po, ang Pilipinas ay wala sa gyera. Ang Pangulo na natin mismo, si Ginoong Marcos, ang umamin sa Davos na hindi military solutions ang magiging approach sa China sa West Philippine Sea.
The youth group also suggested that instead of the ROTC, it would be better to just expand the scope of NSTP or the National Service Training Program. Meanwhile, the Student Council Alliance of the Philippines insists the budget that will be used in the implementation of mandatory ROTC must be used for the needs of our basic education, which according to them is under crisis.
Gamitin na lang po sana natin itong pondo na ito sa kailangang 86 billion ng Department of Education sa mga silid-aralan dahil nagkukulang pa tayo ngayon ng 91,000 classrooms. If mahahanapan lang ng paraan itong pondo, sana po ay unahin natin itong mga salik sa krisis ng edukasyon na meron tayo na siyang nagpapahirap sa buhay ng mga ordinaryong mag-aaral.
However, National Youth Commission Undersecretary Ronald Cardema opposed the claims of the youth groups, saying there is a great need to teach tertiary students military tactics as what is done in other countries.
We should adapt, we should prepare our Filipino youth. Kailangan mong bigyan ng konting disiplina, sense of nationalism, at basic skills sa pagdepensa ng bansa para tunay sila maging pag-asa ng bayan.
As for Senator Bato de la Rosa, he agrees that ROTC training can be good for mental health based on his own experience.
Ako nag-PMA. Sa lahat ng problema na dinaanan ko, alam mo kung wala akong training sa ROTC, wala akong training sa PMA, baka tumalon na ako sa building. Nagpakamatay na ako.
De la Rosa said this is the last committee hearing on the issue. And though some youth groups have expressed opposition to the matter, the senator said he is determined to recommend in the committee report the implementation of mandatory ROTC. The senator is also convinced that this measure will pass Congress and that students can expect that by next year, mandatory ROTC will be implemented. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
Here's a quick look at today's other top stories. There's still no sign of the Cessna 206 plane that has been missing for 2 weeks now. Aerial and ground searches yielded no results, and the food supply of rescuers are dwindling. Reinforcements from the PNP Special Action Force are coming in on Thursday, so the search can continue in the western side of the Sierra Madres and Santa Ana in Cagayan. One operators and drivers group wants the government to negotiate with suppliers to lower the cost of modern jeepneys. According to Pasang Mazda President Obet Martin, a modern jeep costs 2.4 million pesos. The LTFRB has moved the rollout of the PUV modernization program to next year, while also extending the validity of franchises given to traditional jeepneys. And on the economy, inflation surged further to 8.7% in January, the highest since November of 2008 and beyond the government's target range. The government attributes this to more expensive house rental fees, power, water, and fuel. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News Live anytime, anywhere. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.